What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue on with our 2021 schedule previews and projected records. Boston College up next here, a team that really surprised last year. I didn't expect them to do what they did. They turned out to be really one of the better teams in the ACC. Now, they weren't in that top tier. They weren't Clemson. They weren't North Carolina, maybe not even Miami, but they were in that maybe second tier. A team that was, kind of flirted with the top 25 during the season. This was a quality team. Remember, they almost beat Clemson last year as well. So you look ahead at 2021, and I think there's a little bit of excitement around Boston College. Do they think that they're going to win the ACC? No. But I think they are headed in the right direction, and a team that could maybe be a top 25 team this year. Let's look at that schedule. Again, 6-5 last year. A pretty solid season. You take a look at the schedule. Before we go game by game, let's look at who they play outside of the division. They will play Colgate, Umass, Temple, and Missouri. Not exactly a murderer's row there. Colgate and Umass should be pretty much automatic wins. Temple was a disaster last year. Missouri's going to be a tough game. Now, that'll be a very good game. Two teams that I think, two programs that are kind of in the same spot. And so that one I think is going to be a good one. Looking forward to seeing how that game plays out. And then out of the Coastal Division, they're going to play Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. So a pretty good draw there. You don't have to play Miami or North Carolina. Those are the two teams I think you want to avoid out of that division. Virginia Tech did put a beat down on Boston College last year, so this team is going to be looking for revenge there. That was a little bit of a fluke. If you look at where these two teams finished at the end of the season, you kind of scratch your head over that score. I think the game will be much more competitive this season. So back to the schedule. They open up with Colgate on September 4th. Then it's on the road at UMass on September the 11th. Both should be easy wins. I mean, we're talking about an FCS team and a UMass team that is really one of the worst FBS teams. I don't see Boston College having any trouble there. And even Temple on September 18th, that game on the road. A couple of non-conference games on the road there against teams that are not Power 5 teams. That's interesting. But Temple has had some good years in the past, but you go back to last year, I think they only won one game. They don't have a lot of production coming back. So this is a team that's really struggling right now. You like Boston College's chances there. And then there's that big game against Missouri on September 25th. That is going to be a great game. It's not a top 10 matchup, but I think it's two Power 5 teams that are headed in the right direction, that are kind of on the same level, and it's going to be a really competitive, exciting game. So I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. They will begin a conference play on October 2nd, so they're going to play all non-conference games first, get those out of the way, playing Clemson to open things up in the ACC on the road. Not exactly a fun way to start ACC play. That'll be a very tough matchup, of course. Then they'll have a bye week after Clemson. That's a pretty good time for the bye week, I would say. They'll play NC State next on October 16th. That's going to be a really good matchup there. Potentially a game that will decide who finishes second in the Atlantic Division. Right now, on paper, going back to last year, who's coming back, those appear to be the two teams that would be the front runners. I don't think you can count out Florida State, though, just because of all the new additions that they've added to their roster. They're going to have the talent, so they're going to be in that conversation as well. They will play Louisville on October the 23rd on the road. The Cardinals were pretty bad last year. You look ahead to this year, not a lot to get real excited about, but it's if you're Louisville, so that's a game that I think Boston College can win on the road, but it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough matchup. I don't think there's a huge separation between those two teams, and again, playing on the road could be the difference. Syracuse next on October the 30th. That program is just not going in the right direction right now either. That is another road game, though, but you'd like to play, if they feel confident about beating Louisville and Syracuse, you'd like to play those teams on the road. Go ahead and get those games so that maybe you can win some of the bigger games at home. I think that works out pretty well for them. And if you're not going to beat Clemson anyways, might as well play them on the road. So I do like who they play at home and who they play on the road. They get a very good schedule there. They will play Virginia Tech on November 5th at home on a Friday night. That is going to be a revenge game. You have to like Boston College's chances in that one. Again, Friday night at home, they'll be fired up, wanting revenge in that matchup. Georgia Tech next on November 13th on the road. Not sure what we're going to get from the Yellow Jackets this year. That's a game that Boston College, again, should have a good shot at winning. So you look at their road schedule, it doesn't get really any better than this. I think it really works out well for them. You're not going to beat Clemson anyways. Go ahead and play them on the road, and then they have their 3 probably easiest games in the conference all on the road. So a very nice schedule for Boston College. Florida State on November 20th. That is also going to be a big game when you talk about the pecking order in the Atlantic Division, and they'll finish things up with Wake Forest on November 27th, a team that you can't sleep on. They've developed into a quality program, a pretty consistent program, and they've got a lot of guys coming back, so that will also be a challenging matchup there, but it's at home. And again, that's the biggest takeaway from this schedule. I really like their home and away, and I like, if I want an easy schedule, I like the non-conference schedule as well, despite that game against Missouri, which might be a little bit tougher. So what's the projected record for Boston College? Well, this is how we do it. We put the games, kind of group them together in different categories based off of the opponents, just based off of what these teams have coming back this year, just general expectations, and also kind of looking back to what happened in matchups last year. If it's a 50-50 game, it'll stay in the white. Less than 10%, it'll be in the red. 10 to 25% in the orange. 26 to 40% in yellow. 60 to 74% in purple. 75 to 90% in blue. More than 90%, it'll be in green, and we got 2 of those. I think Colgate and Umass are both easy wins for Boston College. Really would be very surprised if they were to lose either one of these games. I mean, they're pretty much guaranteed wins. And I think Temple is not far from the green, but I'm going to put them in the blue. You know, they're a little bit better program. It's still a game, though, that Boston College is going to be favored by double digits, and they should win, even though it is on the road. Like I said, Temple, only 1 win last year. A lot of production gone. They don't have much even coming back, so they're really in a rebuild mode right now. You like Boston College's chances to get that win. Let's go to that next tier, 60 to 74%. These are games where Boston College, I think, will be favored by about a touchdown. We got 3 of those: Louisville, Syracuse, Georgia Tech. And these, again, were the games we talked about being on the road. But these are the games you want to play on the road. You like your chances to win these games. Now, it also means that you could get upset. You know, if you're playing one of these games at home, you probably would win. Playing on the road, maybe you get upset. And, you know, these aren't horrible teams. That's why I put these games in the purple. You could absolutely lose to Louisville, Syracuse, or Georgia Tech. Playing on the road, yes, these are potential losses, but I do think Boston College will be favored in all 3 of these matchups. And then the one game where they're going to be a clear underdog, it's Clemson. And that game, again, should not be close. I know it was last year, but when you look at these 2 teams and these programs, you'd be surprised if it's close again this year. And so the rest of the schedule, really all games that are in the white, all 50-50 games: Missouri, NC State, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Wake Forest. All of these games could really go either way, and this is what's going to determine the season for Boston College. It's how they play in these games. But if you think about it, if all of these games are 50-50 games, that means they only have 1 game where they're going to be a clear underdog. And if they can win some close games and take care of business in the games where they're favored, and things go their way, it's not inconceivable to think that Boston College could go 11-1 this year. Again, they can beat Missouri, they can beat NC State, they can beat Virginia Tech, they can beat Florida State, they can beat Wake Forest. Winning all 5 of those games, I don't really see it happening, and it's very unlikely, but it's possible. So if Boston College winds up being better than we expect, and they have a really good year and everything goes their way, they could have a really good year just because of the way their schedule sets up. But with our projection, we're going to kind of average these games out. So the yellow games are considered 40%. The white are considered 50% games because they're 50-50 games. The purple are considered 60%. We average all those games out. We count the Clemson game as a loss, Colgate, Umass, and Temple as wins. The projection, when you average everything out, is actually 7-5 for Boston College. So while there's potential for them to have a great year, to win pretty much every game on their schedule, there are too many close calls, and when you split up those games, you win some of them, you lose some of them. The projection for BC does come out to be 7-5. Do you agree with this projection? Do you think they'll do better or worse? I think it's pretty fair. Maybe an 8-4 type team this year with the schedule that sets up really well. But again, you talk about some of these games on the road, they might get upset by Louisville. They might get upset by Georgia Tech, even if they do take care of business in most of their home games. So 7-5, 8-4 seems to be a pretty fair projection in my opinion. Again, do you agree or disagree? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.